Okay, so here are just some last minute reminders because I knew I wasn't going to get to see all of you before the test. So first one is if you do have to graph something, please remember to label your axes. That will get you an easy point, as well as properly scaling them, meaning do 5, 10, 15, 20 and be consistent. Put your dependent variable like time, your independent variable like time or treatment, etc. on your x-axis, and then your dependent variable on your y. When you're looking at graphs, remember the standard error bars or standard deviation bars. And so with these, you have the bars here. Let me go ahead and just write on this. If you have, if they ask you to interpret the graph, you cannot say, oh, treatment D here is, larger than C. You'd have to say there is a significant difference. Now what's missing in this graph is the bottom half of the error bar. So if there is no overlap, then you can say that C and D are statistically significant. Now here, B is a little bit unreliable with that large standard error bar. That means that there is a large variation in the data to calculate this mean. And if it's an error bar this large, it's saying it's not really accurate compared to what the true population mean is based on what their sample was. Also, if you're going to say, oh, A was much smaller than C, you would have to say that there is a significant difference between A and C. Or if between B and C, you can't say that there's a minimal difference or no difference. You'd have to say there's statistically or no significant difference, or statistically there's no significant difference between B and C. So the phrasing matters when writing about graphs. This I like because it touches on two things I wanted to mention. So if you have to write about traits being inherited or genes being inherited, and you want to talk about, oh, they have a gene for antibiotic resistance or they have the gene for this or that, you need to phrase it that the gene is going to be expressed. It doesn't matter if they have it if it's not expressed. And then I like this one because I also wanted to point out in terms of writing about evolution and natural selection, it's important to remember that evolution is change over time or over multiple generations, and that individuals do not choose to adapt. So please, in your phrasing, don't make it sound like it's a choice. And then also, individuals are either selected for or not, and their fitness is based on how much they pass on their genes to the next generation. It's also important to remember that there are 5 ways that populations change over time. Natural selection is the only one that's adaptive, or it has a population changing due to the environmental pressures and stuff. I also wanted to mention, I think that might be it for that. Speciation. To say that things are the same species would mean that they have fertile, viable offspring. So if you're talking about speciation, you would have to talk about how there's no offspring they don't make viable, fertile offspring together. Sorry, people just kind of missed those things this year, and I wanted to point that out. And then also for the writing part, don't abbreviate. Don't bullet point. Please do complete sentences, writing in blue or black ink pen. If a question asks for one advantage or one characteristic, just do one. If you think to yourself, I'm going to keep on writing a whole bunch and impress them, they're only going to grade your first one. And if your first one happened to be wrong, but your second, third, and fourth example were correct, who cares? They're only going to grade that first one. And then if you keep on writing, and you end up contradicting yourself, they'll also mark it wrong, even if you were correct in the first place. So be careful with what you say and how you phrase things, and you'll do well. Good luck, my wonderful students.